What's up, Reality Recap crew, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have to talk about something truly heartbreaking. Something that has rocked the foundation of one of reality TV's most beloved families. We've followed the Roloff family for nearly 2 decades. We've seen births, we've seen weddings, we've seen painful divorces and new beginnings. We've watched them build lives, build businesses, and build a legacy. But today, we're here to talk about something being destroyed. The news broke like a shockwave through the Little People, Big World community. Whispers turned into rumors, and rumors have now solidified into a devastating reality. The title of this video isn't clickbait. This isn't an exaggeration for views. A tragedy has occurred, and it involves Amy Roloff, a house fire, a catastrophic financial loss, and yes, a death that has left the family shattered. We've all seen the headlines. We've all seen the cryptic social media posts, and your DMs to me have been flooding in, asking the same 3 questions. What happened? Is everyone okay? And the one everyone is afraid to ask, who died? So today we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to piece together everything we know from official sources, insider reports, and family reactions. We're going to break down the timeline of the fire that engulfed Amy Roloff's home. We'll investigate the staggering reported loss of $340,000, and we will address the heartbreaking loss of life that occurred. Stick with me, because this is a story of loss, of resilience, and of a family facing its darkest hour. This is the story of the fire that changed everything for Amy Roloff. To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to go back to the beginning. The home that Amy Roloff shared with her husband, Chris Merrick, wasn't just a house. For Amy, and for the millions who watch her, that house was a symbol. It was her second act. After the painful and public divorce from Matt Roloff and the heart-wrenching decision to sell her portion of Roloff Farms, this home was her sanctuary. It was the place she established her independence, the place she built a new life, the place where she finally, truly moved on. It was a charming, beautiful home in Hillsboro, Oregon, just a 15-minute drive from the farm, close enough to be near her kids and grandkids, but far enough to be her own. The incident occurred in the dead of night. According to a preliminary report from the Hillsboro Fire and Rescue Department, the first 911 call was logged at approximately 2:47 a.m. on what was an otherwise quiet Tuesday morning. The call wasn't from Amy or Chris. It was from a neighbor who was woken up by the frantic barking of their own dogs and saw an ominous orange glow reflecting in their bedroom window. Imagine that for a moment. You're a neighbor, you look outside, and you see flames, angry, violent flames, licking the side of the house belonging to the woman you've seen on TV for years. The first responders were dispatched immediately, with the first engine arriving on the scene within 6 minutes. But in a fire, 6 minutes is an eternity. By the time they arrived, the back portion of the house, specifically the area around the back deck and kitchen, was already fully engulfed. The fire was spreading rapidly through the walls and into the attic space. The immediate priority for firefighters wasn't saving the structure, it was life safety. They needed to confirm if anyone was inside. Thankfully, and I want to state this clearly right at the top, both Amy and Chris Merrick made it out of the house, physically unharmed. An insider source close to the family reported that they were awakened by the blaring of a smoke detector in their hallway. Chris, a man who has always been shown to be cool and collected on the show, reportedly acted instantly. He grabbed Amy, and they fled the home with literally nothing but the clothes on their backs. They stood on the lawn across the street, watching in helpless horror as the home they had poured so much love into was consumed by fire and smoke. The images described by eyewitnesses are chilling. The night sky lit up by the inferno, the crackling and popping of burning wood, the shattering of glass as windows blew out from the intense heat. Firefighters battled the blaze for over 2 hours before it was considered under control, and they remained on the scene for several more hours, extinguishing hotspots and beginning their initial investigation. By sunrise, the full extent of the devastation was visible. The back of the house was a blackened, skeletal ruin. The roof over the kitchen and living area had collapsed. The entire home, Even the parts not directly touched by flames had suffered catastrophic smoke and water damage. It was, in a word, a total loss. The silence from the Roloff family in the immediate aftermath was deafening, but understandable. For nearly 24 hours, there wasn't a single post, a single story, a single public comment from any of them. The fans were left to speculate, piecing together information from local news reports. But then, the first confirmation came, not from Amy, but from her ex-husband, Matt Roloff. The dynamics of the Roloff family have always been complex, and this tragedy has thrown those complexities into sharp relief. The way each family member has responded tells a story in itself. Let's start with Matt. Around 7 p.m. the following evening, Matt posted a photo on his Instagram. It wasn't of the fire. It was an old photo of Roloff Farms at sunset. His caption was what confirmed everyone's fears. He wrote, and I quote, "Sometimes life throws things at you that are impossible to understand. A terrible tragedy has struck our family. While Amy and Chris are safe, they have suffered a devastating loss. We are all trying to rally around them in this time of need. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers as they navigate this difficult journey. Family is family, and we will be there. Now let's analyze this. On the surface, it's a supportive, appropriate message. He confirms Amy and Chris are safe, he acknowledges the loss, and he emphasizes family unity. But for longtime viewers, there's a subtext here. The choice of a photo of the farm, his domain, could be seen as him positioning himself as the stable patriarch, the rock in the storm. The phrase, family is family, is particularly poignant, given their very public and often bitter disagreements over the sale of that very farm. Sources say that Matt and his fiancée, Karen Chandler, were on the scene early that morning. Not at the house itself, out of respect for the emergency services, but they were nearby, reportedly at a staging area with Zach and Tori. It suggests that when crisis strikes, the old bonds, however frayed, do still hold some strength. Next, let's look at Zach and Tori Roloff. As the only children still actively and consistently filming for the show, and living just a short drive away on their own farm in Battleground, Washington, they were the first family members to be with Amy and Chris. Tori posted a simple, black screen to her Instagram stories with the text, "Completely heartbroken. Hug your loved ones tight. We are just so grateful they are safe." This is very typical of Tori's response to crises. It's emotional, family-focused, and direct. Zach, who is less active on social media, has remained silent publicly, but sources close to production confirm he has been Amy's rock. He's reportedly been handling the logistics, dealing with calls, and trying to shield his mother from the overwhelming stress of the situation. This is the Zach we've come to know, a quiet, dutiful son who steps up when it matters most. He may have had his own intense drama with his father over the farm, but his loyalty to his mother has never been in question. Now let's turn to the other siblings, the ones who have stepped away from the show, Jeremy, Audrey, Jacob, and Molly. Their reactions, or lack thereof, are just as telling. Jeremy and Audrey Roloff, who command a massive following with their lifestyle brand, took a more curated approach. After a full day of silence, Audrey posted a beautifully shot photo of a sunrise over their farm. Her caption was lengthy and reflective, talking about how out of the ashes, beauty will rise, and how trials are meant to build character. She mentioned that her in-laws had suffered a terrible event and asked for prayers, but the post was also interwoven with their usual brand of aspirational, faith-based content. To some fans, this felt heartfelt and encouraging. To critics, it felt a little detached, a tragedy filtered through an Instagram influencer's lens. Jeremy reposted Audrey's post to his stories with a simple "Pray for my mom." Jacob Roloff, the family's self-proclaimed black sheep, and his wife Isabel had a much different response. Isabel, who is often the more vocal of the two, posted a raw, emotional message on her Instagram stories. She wrote, "Material things can be replaced. People can't. My heart is with Amy and Chris right now. Fires are terrifying, and the trauma is real. Please send them nothing but love. Ignore the media circus. This felt very authentic and was a clear jab at the sensationalism surrounding the event. Jacob, true to form, posted nothing at all, preferring to keep his family life completely private. We can only assume he reached out to his mother directly. And finally, Molly Lewix, the most private of all the Roloff children, has, of course, remained silent publicly. This is her nature. She and her husband Joel live a quiet life away from the cameras, and we can be certain that any support she's offering her mother is happening far away from the public eye, through a phone call or a private visit. So you have the spectrum of reactions. Matt, the patriarch, making a public declaration of unity. Zach and Tori, the hands-on immediate support. Jeremy and Audrey, the polished, faith-based response. And Jacob and Isabel, the raw anti-media reaction. It's the entire Roloff family dynamic, encapsulated by a single tragic event. Now, we have to address the most difficult part of the story. The part of the title that I know has caused the most alarm. The question, who has died? When a tragedy like this happens, our minds immediately go to the worst-case scenario. And when I first heard the news, I had that same sinking feeling. I am relieved, and I want to emphasize this again, that no human lives were lost in this fire. Amy Roloff and Chris Merrick are safe, but that does not mean there wasn't a death. That does not mean there wasn't a heartbreaking loss of life that has left a gaping hole in their family. According to two separate sources close to the Roloff family, Amy and Chris's beloved dog, a beautiful Bernese mountain dog named Daisy, perished in the fire. For those who may not know, Daisy was more than a pet. She was a constant companion for Amy. She was adopted shortly after Amy moved into her new home, and in many ways, Daisy symbolized this new chapter of her life. We saw glimpses of her on the show and frequently on Amy's Instagram. We saw her romping in the yard, curled up by the fireplace, and greeting the grandkids with a happy wagging tail. She was a fixture in their home, a member of their family. The details are still emerging and are frankly gut-wrenching. The preliminary belief is that in the chaos and thick smoke, Daisy may have gotten scared and hidden somewhere inside the house, likely under a bed or in a closet. In those frantic moments, with the smoke alarm screaming and the fire spreading, Amy and Chris had only seconds to get out. It is a parent's worst nightmare to be unable to save a child, and for so many of us, our pets are our children. The confirmation of Daisy's passing came indirectly through an exchange in the comments section of a fan page. A well-known insider, someone who has proven to have reliable information in the past, responded to a fan asking about the dog. The reply was simple and devastating. They couldn't get to her in time. Amy's heart is completely broken in two. This is the loss that Matt was likely referring to when he said they suffered a devastating loss. This is the source of the family's profound heartbreak. A house can be rebuilt. Possessions can be replaced. But this loss is permanent. It adds a layer of pure, soul-crushing tragedy to an already horrific situation. Amy has always been an animal lover. We saw her with her dog Felix for years on the farm, and his passing was a major, emotional storyline on the show. To lose another beloved companion in such a traumatic way is almost unthinkable. It's a pain that no insurance policy can cover. But the death isn't just a physical one. In many ways, what also died that night was Amy's sanctuary. The very symbol of her post-divorce identity and independence is now a pile of ash and rubble. When she left Roloff Farms, she left behind 30 years of memories, both good and bad. That farm was intertwined with her identity as Matt Roloff's wife and the mother of their 4 children. This new house was different. This was Amy Roloff Merrick's house. It was hers and Chris's. It was where she hosted her own parties, decorated to her own taste, and built a life on her own terms. The fire didn't just take her dog and her belongings, it took her safe space. It took the physical manifestation of her second act. And that is a death in itself, the death of a dream, the death of a sanctuary. The question now is, can she find the strength to build it all over again? Let's pivot now to the other staggering detail that has been reported, the estimated loss of $340,000. When we hear a number like that, it can be hard to comprehend. Where does it come from, and what does it actually represent? Let's break it down. First, it's important to understand that this is a preliminary estimate, likely from an initial insurance assessment. The final number could be higher or lower. This figure typically encompasses two main categories: the structure itself and the contents within. Amy purchased her home in Hillsborough in 2019 for a reported $588,500. It was a beautiful 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in a lovely, established neighborhood. Given the rise in property values in the Portland metro area over the last several years, the home itself was likely worth well over $700,000 today. The $340,000 figure is likely not the total value of the home, but the estimated cost of the damage and the subsequent rebuild. Rebuilding a fire-damaged home is an incredibly complex and expensive process. It's not just about putting up new walls. First, there's the demolition and removal of the damaged sections, which is a specialized job. Then, you have to assess the foundation. Did the intense heat compromise its integrity? From there, you have the framing, the roofing, the electrical, the plumbing, all of which have to be brought up to current building codes, which may be more stringent than when the house was originally built. This often leads to unexpected costs. So, a significant portion of that $340,000 is for the physical reconstruction of her house. But that's only half the story. The other, and arguably more heartbreaking, part of that financial loss is the contents. Think about everything you have in your home. Now, imagine it's all gone in an instant. Every piece of furniture, every appliance, every piece of clothing, every pot, pan, and plate in the kitchen. For Amy, this is especially devastating. We all know how much she loves to cook. Her kitchen was her command center. It was filled with her gadgets, her special ingredients, her collection of cookbooks. All of that is likely gone. But it's the personal items that are truly priceless, the things that insurance can't replace. Let's think about what might have been lost forever. Family photos, decades of photo albums, pictures of Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob as babies, photos from their childhood on the farm, wedding albums, the first photos of all her grandchildren, Jackson, Lila, Ember, Bode, Mateo, and Radley. In a digital age, we hope many were backed up, but we all have those physical photos that are one of a kind. Heirlooms, items passed down from her own parents who have both passed away, a piece of her mother's jewelry, her father's watch, the family Bible. These are irreplaceable links to her heritage. Keepsakes from the show. For 25 seasons, Amy's life has been documented. Did she keep special mementos? The dress she wore to one of the kids' weddings? A special gift from a fan? A scrapbook of press clippings from the early days of the show? Handwritten recipes. We know Amy is a prolific cook and has even written her own cookbooks. It's almost certain she had a collection of her mother's or grandmother's handwritten recipe cards. These are treasures that can never be recreated. Art and decorations. Every piece of art on the wall, every decorative pillow, every rug was chosen by her to make that house a home. It was her personal style, a reflection of her personality. So when you hear the number $340,000, don't just think about wood and drywall. Think about the fabric of a life, the physical embodiment of a lifetime of memories. The financial cost is staggering, but the emotional cost is incalculable. And this brings up another difficult question: insurance. While we assume Amy had a good homeowner's insurance policy, dealing with insurance companies after a major catastrophe is a full-time job. It's a draining, bureaucratic process of documenting every single item you owned, fighting for fair value, and navigating endless paperwork, all while you're homeless and grieving the loss of your pet and your sense of security. It's a secondary trauma that will likely last for months, if not years. Whenever a fire of this magnitude happens, especially to a public figure, speculation is inevitable. The immediate question on everyone's mind after confirming the family's safety is, how did this happen? The Hillsborough Fire and Rescue's Investigation Unit is handling the official inquiry, and while their full report won't be available for weeks, we can look at the likely causes they are exploring. Let's be clear, There is currently no evidence to suggest this was a case of arson or any kind of foul play. The initial assessment points towards an accidental fire. The focus of the investigation, based on the fire's origin point at the back of the house, seems to be centered around three main possibilities. Possibility 1. Electrical fault. This is one of the most common causes of house fires. It could be old or faulty wiring, an overloaded circuit, or a malfunctioning appliance. The fire appears to have started on or near the back deck and kitchen area. This area is loaded with electricity, outdoor lighting, outlets, and inside, a plethora of major appliances like the refrigerator, oven, dishwasher, and microwave. An electrical short in any one of these could smolder for hours before erupting into flames, especially in the middle of the night when no one is awake to notice it. Investigators will be meticulously sifting through the charred remains of wires and appliances to look for the telltale signs of an electrical fire. Possibility 2. A kitchen-related accident. Amy loves to cook. Her kitchen is the heart of her home. Could something have been left on by mistake? A slow cooker, a burner on the stove turned to low? It's less likely in the middle of the night, but not impossible. Another possibility is a grease fire that was thought to be extinguished but later reignited inside a wall or vent hood. Or even something as simple as oily rags used for cleaning or staining the deck that spontaneously combusted, a surprisingly common phenomenon. Given Amy's experience in the kitchen, a simple left the stove on scenario feels less plausible, but investigators have to rule out everything. Possibility 3. The barbecue grill or outdoor heater. The fire started near the back deck. Many people keep a propane barbecue grill or a fire pit on their deck. If the propane tank had a slow leak, or if embers from a fire pit weren't fully extinguished from a previous use, it could easily start a fire that climbs the side of the house. Chris and Amy often entertain outside. Investigators will have located the remains of their grill and will be examining its gas lines and tank for any signs of failure. Online, of course, the wilder theories have already begun to circulate. In times of tragedy, people look for someone or something to blame. These are baseless, but we should address them. Some have pointed fingers at Matt Roloff, which is frankly absurd and disgusting. The two may have had a contentious business relationship, but they share 4 children and multiple grandchildren. To suggest he would be involved in something so heinous is beyond the pale. Others have spun tales of a stalker or a disgruntled fan. Again, there is absolutely zero evidence to support these claims. The most likely answer is the most mundane and the most tragic. It was a simple, terrible accident. A faulty wire, a malfunctioning appliance, a random spark of bad luck that changed their lives in an instant. This lack of a villain almost makes it harder to process. There is no one to be angry at. There is only the cruel, random hand of fate. The conclusion of the official investigation will be crucial for Amy and Chris's insurance claim and for their own peace of mind. But in the end, knowing the exact cause won't bring back Daisy, and it won't undo the trauma. It will simply be a footnote in a story of devastating loss. The title of this video begins with the words, "It's over." And while that might sound like hyperbole, in many ways, an entire era for Amy Roloff is in fact over. The era of her post-farm independence, the era of that specific sanctuary she built. But the end of one chapter is often the beginning of another. So what does the future hold for Amy and Chris? Where do they go from here? And what does this mean for the future of little people, big world? The immediate future, where are they now? In the short term, Amy and Chris are effectively homeless. They are likely staying with one of their children, almost certainly Zach and Tori, given their proximity and close relationship. This in itself creates a new and potentially stressful dynamic. Amy will be back in the orbit of the farm, physically closer to Matt and Karen than she has been in years. While the family is rallying around her now, the strain of living in close quarters while dealing with such immense trauma could test even the strongest bonds. They will be spending the next several months, at a minimum, navigating the bureaucratic nightmare of insurance claims, finding temporary housing, and trying to piece together a new life from scratch. This is a grueling process that will test their relationship and their individual resilience. We've seen Amy as a strong, determined woman for years, but this is a blow that would bring anyone to their knees. Her support system, Chris, her children, and her close friends, will be more important now than ever before. The long-term future, to rebuild or relocate. The biggest question is what they will do with the property. They have two main options. Rebuild. They could tear down what's left of a house and rebuild on the same lot. The advantage here is that they love the neighborhood and the location. It's familiar territory. The downside is that the property will forever be the site of a profound trauma. Would Amy ever feel truly safe or comfortable sleeping in a house built on the ashes of her old one, where her beloved dog died? For some, rebuilding is a cathartic act of defiance against tragedy. For others, the emotional scars are too deep to stay. Relocate. They could take the insurance payout, sell the lot, and start fresh somewhere else. This would allow them to put the physical location of the tragedy behind them and create a new home with no painful memories attached. However, this means another massive upheaval. Finding a new home, moving, and starting over in a new neighborhood is a stressful process, even under the best of circumstances. Given Amy's journey, my personal speculation is that they might choose to relocate. The symbolism of that first house was tied to her first step away from the farm. A new house could symbolize a new beginning for her and Chris as a married couple. A second step forward, a home built together from the ground up, both literally and figuratively. The future of little people, big world. From a television production standpoint, this tragedy is, for lack of a better word, a storyline. TLC cameras have documented every major event in the Roloffs' lives for 17 years, and this will be no exception. It's highly likely that the aftermath of this fire will become the central plot of the next season of Little People, Big World. This could take the show in a much more raw and emotional direction. We will likely see Amy and Chris sifting through the wreckage, trying to salvage any memories they can. The emotional toll this takes on Amy's mental health. The family rallying together in the immediate aftermath. The inevitable tensions that will arise from the stress of the situation. Will Matt offer unsolicited advice on rebuilding? Will disagreements about the future cause friction between Amy and Chris? The entire process of dealing with insurance, architects, and contractors. This tragedy, as horrible as it is, could also be the catalyst that forces the fractured family to confront their issues. When faced with a genuine crisis, petty squabbles over land and money can suddenly seem insignificant. We may see a temporary truce between Matt and Zach. We may see all four siblings coming together to support their mother in a way we haven't seen in years. Or the stress could exacerbate the existing cracks in the family's foundation, pushing them even further apart. The one thing that is certain is that the show will go on. The Roloffs signed on to share their lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it doesn't get much uglier than this. For fans, it will be a difficult but compelling season, a real-time look at a family navigating the absolute depths of loss and trying to find a path forward. As we near the end of this deep dive, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sadness of the story. The loss is immense, the trauma is real, and the road ahead for Amy and Chris is long and difficult. But if there is one thing we have learned from watching Amy Roloff for nearly 2 decades, it is that she is a survivor. Her entire life has been a testament to her resilience. Think about what she has overcome. She was born with achondroplasia, facing a world not built for her, and she navigated it with grace and determination. She raised 4 children, 2 of average height and 2 with dwarfism, each with their own unique challenges. She helped build Roloff Farms from a fixer-upper into a thriving business and a tourist destination. She went through a painful and incredibly public divorce after 27 years of marriage, having to redefine her entire identity in middle age under the scrutiny of millions of viewers. She made the gut-wrenching decision to leave the only home she had known for 3 decades, the home where she raised her children. She put herself back out there, found love again with Chris Merrick, and carefully blended her new life with her complicated family history. At every turn, at every challenge, Amy has shown a quiet but formidable strength. She has cried, she has struggled, but she has never, ever given up. This fire is perhaps the greatest challenge she has ever faced. It's a cruel and sudden blow after she had finally found her footing in her happiness. But the spirit that got her through everything else is still there. The house was a symbol of her independence, but it was not the source of it. The source of her strength is internal. She has a loving husband in Chris, who has proven to be her steadfast partner. She has 4 children who, despite their own dramas, clearly love her and will be there for her. She has a legion of grandchildren who will give her a reason to smile and a reason to rebuild. And she has millions of fans around the world who are sending her love and support. The coming months will be a crucible for her. But if we know anything about Amy Roloff, it's that she's a phoenix. She has risen from the ashes before, and she will do it again. Her next chapter may have a foundation of soot and sorrow, but it will be built with the same grit, determination, and love that has defined her entire life. It's not truly over. It's just a new, unplanned, and incredibly painful beginning. So, to recap this devastating story, Amy Roloff and Chris Marek's home has been destroyed in a tragic house fire. While they are physically safe, they have lost everything they owned. The family is reeling from the loss, and their beloved dog, Daisy, tragically died in the blaze. The financial cost is estimated in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the emotional cost is immeasurable. The investigation points to a terrible accident, and the future for Amy, her family, and the show itself has been irrevocably altered. This is a story that is still developing, and we will be sure to keep you updated as more official information becomes available. Our hearts, and I know the hearts of the entire Little People, Big World community, go out to Amy, Chris, and the entire Roloff family during this impossibly difficult time. We wish them strength, peace, and resilience as they begin the long process of healing and rebuilding. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this tragedy? What message of support would you want to send to Amy Roloff? Do you think this will ultimately bring the family closer together or drive them further apart? Let me know everything you're thinking in the comment section below. Your comments are a huge part of our community here, and in times like these, showing support is what matters most. If you found this deep dive informative and appreciate the respectful approach we try to take here at Reality Recap, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our future updates on this story and all your other favorite reality TV shows. Thank you for joining me for this difficult conversation. Until next time, be kind to each other and hug your loved ones and your pets a little tighter tonight. Take care, everyone.